All right, $33 million going to the deceased. The Department of Agriculture shelled out more from 2008 to 2012 to people who were no longer living. Yep, but they aren't the only ones who have made this mistake. And by the way, why does this keep happening? Joining us right now is Scottie Hughes, news director at the Tea Party Network News and columnist for Town Hall Finance. Scottie, how does this relate, these dead people getting checks, how does it relate to the Farm Bill?
Well, it's real simple. You know, I know this is going to come as a big surprise to you, Brian, but, you know, politicians don't normally read the bills, and we know that there's pork in almost every single bill. And this is a great example of how pork spending has happened, and they've included this in the bill, and basically until they get it out, these groups, these lobbyist groups on D.C. are going to continue to get millions of dollars going to farmers that have been dead for years. Wow.
So you're able to find this out, but it doesn't seem that if they're in Congress, they're that curious. For example, dollars to the dead, Department of Agriculture, $33 million, as I mentioned in the open, between 2008 and 2012. Social Security Administration, $31 million to May 2012 to dead people. And the Office of Management, Personnel Management, $86.1 million through last year. And the STEM program, as we know, in 2010 that passed, has $18 million going to the dead. Scottie, what are you doing about this besides alerting to those in your Tea Party network?
Well, it's real simple. When you sit there and I guess the Obama administration realized that they had given enough bribes to those above ground. So they're going to continue to bribe those people underground with basic entitlements, hoping that they'll continue to vote for them, which would explain why I had the choice at the voter box in November to either vote by ballot or by Ouija board. So going forward, it's one of those things that we need to make sure that, you know, we're holding these people, these politicians, both on the Republicans and the Democrat side, feet to the fire. And a lot of these lobbyists are very powerful in D.C., as we well know, and making sure that those guys, the only people that are not getting funds are ones that might have passed years before.
Now, I know Tea Party candidates obviously going to hear your cry. Have you found Democrats on the other side equally as alarmed at this waste?
Well, of course not, because it actually benefits, you know, the Democrats the most. 1.8 million people, dead people, are actually still on our voter rosters, which would probably explain why back in November, just days after the election in California, Minnesota, North Carolina, we were receiving stories of people who actually recorded their vote yet had died years before. And so this actually usually benefits those on the Democrat side, oddly enough. But here's the biggest thing. We need to make sure those folks that are collecting these checks, right, knowingly that they're doing false bidding, that they are prosecuted because they're committing fraud just like any other type of fraud we have here in the United States.
And almost like what's happening in sports right now, there has to be a fear of a penalty rather than someone saying, I'll give it a shot. Worst comes to worst, they'll stop the checks. You got to be able to have some ramifications. Scottie Hughes.
And in reality, yes, in reality, I'm going to put that the government is just as likely to get rid of this issue and this pork spending as they are for the Cubs to win the next World Series.
Right, which we know they've sold off half their roster. Scottie, I get it. Thanks for the analogy for dumbing it down for me. Scottie Hughes, thank you very much. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you.